So, is it you protecting your peace or is it you being petty? There is truthfully this dance that kind of happens when we find that our needs are being unmet, we experience a transgression, we feel unrecognized or undervalued. And how we respond in those moments will definitely distinguish the difference between, is it principled, right? How I respond, is it principled or is it me just simply being petty? How we doing out there? How's your heart space? I love that question. I think somebody asked me this question just randomly and they were like, how's your heart? I was like, whoa! Security, get this person out of here. They're asking too deep of questions. I think it's such a cool reflection piece to just ask yourself or ask other people, how's your heart? Especially when our heart is hurting from certain transgressions. What is in our heart in that moment? What's actually stirring? When we have moments where, maybe you aren't acknowledged, you're ignored, you're not invited, you feel excluded, and your response to these things, or maybe somebody is not doing something that you desire for them to do, that you may have communicated, may have not. See all of these different interactions or scenarios, and your response is kind of to pull back. The thing about it is everybody wants to feel validated and vindicated in their experience. But sometimes we're not always the most honest about how we are playing that out. Some people will say, oh yeah, I'm just simply protecting my peace. But in reality, it's hoping that they disturb someone else's with their absence. And then there may be other people who are trying to ask themselves or explore this idea of like, oh, I'm not responding as quickly as I used to. I'm not giving this person as much effort as I used to. Am I being petty? Or is this me kind of honoring how I actually feel or protecting myself? And the difference is in what is your goal. Some people will readily admit that they're petty and they'll stand on it. They're like, oh yeah, I'm petty. You treat me a certain way. I'm taking it down a couple of flights and we're going to go there as I want you to hurt the way that I'm hurting. Other people may be kind of conflicted in terms of, well, what am I experiencing in this moment? How do I feel? What do I want the other person to feel? Even when it comes to us wanting to hurt other people, the root of that, even if the behavior isn't justified, the root of that is like, I want to feel seen. I want to be acknowledged. So maybe if I hurt you in the ways that you hurt me, you can see me. You can see the pain that I'm experiencing. And maybe that will change you. Maybe you'll have a come to Jesus moment. But we got to understand that everybody wants to be comfortable in their own truth, in their own function. You, me, Johnny Appleseed, like everybody wants to just feel like what they are doing is, for lack of a better word, right or okay. Even if we know we are not doing right by others. And I think when you are operating from a place of deep sensitivity, everybody's sensitive, right? I've understood that every single person is sensitive, and you will know that a lot of times in how a person responds to the same behavior that they had no problem dishing out to other people. Some people may say, well, yeah, I'm not aware of that. You need to teach me. The thing about adults is we have a responsibility to learn on our own to some capacity, right? You're not telling a person who lives across this country that, hey, you have to make sure I get to work on time, right? You have to make sure I get paid. You have to make sure I eat. We're not telling people that. But when it comes to our responsibility in terms of how we're treating other people, we want to delegate or task other people with our own responsibility. And one of those responsibilities always comes with the concept of accountability. How am I treating others? Right? I'm not aware. I didn't know that I did that. Okay, now that you have been made aware, how are you functioning now? And for you, when you experience a certain transgression, or anyone listening, when you pull back, okay, and you're pausing, or you are stonewalling, I want you to ask yourself, why are you doing it? What's the goal? What do you want to happen? Do you want this person to chase you now? Do you want this person to cry and beg for your forgiveness, your attention? Or are you just simply trying to take a step back and reassess, like, hey, I was already pretty vulnerable. I was already putting in this effort. I was already sharing, some deep stuff, and it feels like this person or these people just stepped right over. They didn't even acknowledge what I shared, but they now want something from me. They now have a need. They're now asking me to provide more. And now they're wanting this dynamic of me, but they discarded the other part. And I'm feeling kind of conflicted, right? What do I do with this? Do I pretend like everything's sweet, everything's cool? The funny thing is when we pretend that things are okay when we're not okay, that's where resentment loves to live. You are trying to do that. What you're doing is you're dismissing your needs, right? You're dismissing the discomfort that this transgression has caused. You're not being honest and authentic, okay? And you are trying to people please in certain ways. I don't want these people to be affected by my disappointment in how they've treated me. So I'm gonna pretend like everything's sweet. And if I pretend like everything's cool and I keep doing that, that means that I am kind of minimizing myself. I'm muting myself, and I'm still functioning in a pattern behavior that allows me to continue to be undervalued or dismissed, right? What would it look like to simply communicate, hey, I share this and it didn't seem like it was valued, and now there's still this desire for me to show up in a certain way, but I feel like there's an imbalance. A lot of times we won't say that, but we will sit back with our arms crossed and say, well, this person should just know. They should just get it, right? And the reason why I'm calling out both sides is because it's not about who's more justified. It's more about who's willing to show up and repair or just recognize responsibility. Like I said, everybody's sensitive to something, but we will readily disregard how our behavior has made another person feel because we're not experiencing it in that moment. Now, let's say if we tell people, yeah, I am busy, I'll get back to you when I feel like it, or, that's not something I care to talk about right now, or I don't have the capacity for you. That is a big buzzword that we hear nowadays in today's society. No one has the capacity. No one has the capacity for anything. But we expect people to have full capacity for us and still nurture us and the relationship. I think I was reading something the other day where they posted about some hard truths about themselves that they notice in terms of how they move through friendship. And as I was scrolling through them, I got kind of confused because I was like, wait, what? They were saying how they're not the type of person to reach out. They're very low maintenance. They may not respond for days on end, but it doesn't mean that they don't care about you, right? Go through a couple of slides and then they come up to, I am the type of friend that likes to be nurtured. I'm not an acts of service person where I'm going to do things for you, whatever, but I like when people do things for me. Okay, I like when someone shows up. I like when someone calls. I like when someone checks in. I like all those things. And that was a clear example of the desire for us to be treated a certain way. And we'll say it out loud. Like, hey, I won't make that kind of effort as your friend, but I do expect it. And some people say that with such boldness and such conviction that they don't even realize what they're saying. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do. And they just haven't gotten to the space of consequences that those actions and those characteristics come with. Knowing the difference between if you are being petty and versus being principled, I think is super important. Because sometimes you may feel that when you do take a step back, oh, I'm being petty right now. I should give this person grace, or I should continue to show up, or they didn't mean it, right? Check the pattern of behavior. Check the pattern in the relationship. Check how many times you've communicated your need specifically. Sometimes people say that they've communicated certain things and then you ask them, hey, well, what did you say exactly? And when they say it, it's like, you didn't communicate anything at all. Actually, you did the roundabout thing where you didn't communicate how you feel. You didn't express a boundary. You didn't even express a need explicitly. When you can be honest, right? A lot of times we posture to the world like we are doing the hard work and the arduous work of sustaining a healthy relationship. But behind the scenes, we're probably not. Okay? When it comes to the concept of respecting people's capacity, again, you hear somebody say, well, yeah, I don't have the capacity for this relationship, or I can't reach out, or I'm not the kind of friend that's going to reach out, or, we value relationships differently. And your response is, okay, let me check my own capacity. Do I have space for this relationship? And knowing whether you're being petty or being principled will come down to how peaceful you feel making that decision. Because when we're being petty, right, we are still waiting for a response. We're still waiting for the other person to behave in a way that we desire, right? We are looking for feedback to our now withholding or our pulling back. We're looking for a response like, oh yeah, I'm going to hurt this person now, or now they're going to feel it. That's pettiness. But when it's principled, let's say a person says, yeah, I don't have the capacity, or, I'm the kind of friend I won't show up for you, or I'm the kind of person I won't reach out, all these things, but I do expect you to reach out to me. You hear that and you go, okay, that sounds, one, selfish, very self-centered, but also like a double standard. Clearly this person doesn't value this connection. I'm gonna take a step back, or I'm gonna reevaluate this connection altogether. I might even say something to them. And that's that. Right? You're not looking for them to necessarily respond. You're not looking to have an argument about it, because the goal is to not convince somebody to do better. The goal is to just see what somebody is willing to do. And also hold yourself accountable, right? Keep yourself in check. Because it's so easy to point fingers. We go out into the world and say this person's not doing this, they're not doing this. And then when it comes to ourselves, we're willing to give ourselves a certain level of rope or play to basically half-ass other people. But when somebody says that they don't have the capacity, or they show you that they don't really value the relationship, and the decision you make feels peaceful, like, all right, cool. So I've recognized multiple times that this person has said and shown me that they don't value the connection like I do. We have a different value system. Say less. Let me rearrange a little bit. Maybe I'll even communicate to them. All right, we clearly have a different dynamic or value system in terms of relationships, so that's cool. I won't be reaching out as much because I realize that if I'm constantly on the receptive end of somebody who's hot, cold with me, it doesn't feel good, right? It doesn't feel good in my body. So that's all good. You do your thing. I respect that. I honor it. I'm just going to reevaluate differently. If there's a certain level of peace that you have, if you could continue living life and not really worried about, oh, if this person's going to like me now, or maybe they'll change for me now, right? They're going to do better. If that's not really in the formula or in the terms and conditions, in terms of what you just said to this person, then that's when you were moving through principle, right? Versus pettiness. Pay attention to how calm your body feels when you make that decision. Because when you're petty, it's kind of like this icky feeling that is existing in your body when you're being petty. Right? It's like a tit for tat. You're always waiting for a response of some sort. You're waiting for the recoil. You are looking to see the results, right? You're always watching. You're monitoring something. That's what pettiness kind of is. It's like, let me monitor. Let me see how they feel about this. But when it's principled, it's like, you know what? Let me pay attention to how I feel. Let me make sure I'm being intentional. And I'll just go from there. If it shows up or chooses to do right by me, I'm still going to lean into what my standards are, how I function, how I operate, and what I desire. And this doesn't mean that you don't communicate. This doesn't mean that you are not treating people the way you want to be treated. But it also means that you stop hoping people treat you better. In those moments where you feel like you are unseen or unrecognized or undervalued, or your efforts just don't matter, you respond with some distance, or you respond with, hey, I'm not going to invest as much, even in this moment, or hey, I'm gonna set this one out, right? I'm not gonna participate. And you go about your business. That might be a principle, right? Like I said, a lot of people want to feel like they are doing the virtuous thing, the righteous thing of like, oh yeah, I'm just protecting my peace. That's a boundary for me. But you can see how they move through life, and how restless they are in their behavior, even in their verbiage, how they talk to other people, right? Energy is always telling us the truth about what we really feel. And it's okay to be hurt, right? When you have certain things happen to you, it's okay to acknowledge that hurt. Like, oh, damn, I was prioritizing this relationship a certain way. I feel like these people or this person just treated me like I didn't matter, right? Their needs were important, but when it came to me, it just seemed like it got dismissed or completely went unacknowledged. And now they're expecting something from me. It's like, oh, yeah, that hurts. Okay. What am I doing about it? Petty principle allows you to take a moment to actually ask yourself, what am I doing? And if you are being petty, and you own that, ask yourself, am I okay with somebody responding in the ways that they want to? Because truth be told, again, a lot of times people are just going to fight fire with fire. And if you want that, hey, then you dance. But if that's not what you want, how can you break that cycle? It does require a certain level of honesty. It does require a certain level of maturity and acknowledgement of what you were doing. And like I said, no matter how much we try to convince people that we are doing the right thing, protecting our peace, we're healed, and these people are unhealed, we're more enlightened, it will show in the relationships that we have. If you're feeling hurt by a certain transgression and you want to take your time, you're like, you know what? I don't feel like showing up like nothing has happened and everything is sweet. I'm gonna set this one out. That's okay. Because what it teaches you, what it teaches others to some degree is like, hey, you know, I don't go where I'm not valued. And you don't get all of me, and I get bits and pieces when you feel like you want to show up. No, it doesn't work for me. I think this is really something to think about and consider when we are feeling petty, right? And when you are in that moment of pettiness, ask yourself, what is my goal? You want that other person to hurt? Okay, cool. Are you going to feel better? All right. Or do you want to be seen and validated? Because if that's the case, there is even a way of going about that. Validate yourself. Acknowledge it. You know what? I don't feel like that was cool. And you can even address the person if you feel the need to, or if it's necessary to do so, and if you respect the relationship. You know what? I don't feel that I was valued in this moment. I feel like I was actually dismissed. Okay. And a lot of times, remember, when we are communicating with others and we are making things clear, the goal shouldn't be to get the other person to change. Okay. Ask yourself, what am I willing to change with the information that I have? Take care of yourselves. Look at the relationship dynamics that you've been experiencing. Look at what's going on in those dynamics. And look at how you're responding. And ask yourself, what is that? Remember, pettiness just creates a perpetual pattern of pain. When you're principled, that means that you kind of hold your ground, right? You ground yourself and you understand what the dynamic is and how you want to adjust moving forward. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Take flight.